This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. No. No. Okay. So today we are going to discuss about analyzing your discrete data. So when do you go for linear regression? When your output variable is continuous in nature, you go for linear regression. So when your output variable is discrete in nature, then you are going to implement a technique called as logistic regression, analyzing discrete data. Discrete data means you want to identify whether it is going to rain or not rain today, or whether a student is going to pass or fail in an exam, or whether a person is going to get married or not this year, or whether a particular product is going to be defective or not defective, whether a student is employee is going to get promoted or not promoted. So these are something called as your discrete or categorical data. So if your output variable is discrete in nature, then you're going to implement a technique called as logistic regression. Logistic regression is also called as classification algorithm.
Classification.
Classification algorithm.
Algorithm.
Now, logistic regression. So logistic regression model predicts the probability associated with each dependent variable category. So it will not tell you whether you are going to marry or not, whether it is going to rain or not. It will predict the probability associated with each dependent variable category. So for example, if this is your name or whatever it is, this is your x-axis, this is your y-axis. So this is your, let me open a blank x-axis and y-axis. So this is your x and this is your y. Output is married, marrying, or else I'll put it as something like this. Student 1, student 2, student 3, student 4, like this. So this is your students, this is their results. Results like pass, fail, pass, pass, fail. And this is your y, this is your x. X is nothing but your number of hours you study. 2 hours, 1 hour, 3 hours, 4 hours, 1.5 hours. For example, take this as your data. This is your input, this is your input, and this is your output. So your logistic regression model predicts the probability of each dependent variable category, in the sense it will try to predict this. You get it as 0.6. For this one, you'll get it as 0.2. For this one, you are going to get it as 0.5. For this one, you are going to get it as 0.65. So for this one, you are going to get it as 0.15. So what does this indicate is 60% probability this student number 1 is going to pass in exam. This is 20% probability that student number 2. So did I teach you this yesterday, Devanshu? Did I teach you
Yeah.
this yesterday?
Yes, yes, yes.
Then nobody is
Yeah.
telling me this.
I thought you're doing division.
Oh, because I was having other batch, so that's the reason I could not. Okay, sorry. You would have told me at the initial stage. So today we need to implement multiple linear regression, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, fine, fine. Sorry. At least by seeing the slide, you would have told me. Not a problem. Okay, let me clear all this. Devanshu, what did you thought? After some time, you're telling me this. That's the reason I am asking you.
I thought I was having a deja vu.
Okay. logistic regression. So in this, I'm going to import my R code, and later I'm going to explain you with respect to importing dataset and all. So here, line number 1, I'm going to import a dataset from my local system by using a function called as read.csv and file.choose. So if I run this line of code, I'm going to get a pop-up window. So I'm going to choose a file. I'm going to choose a file. I'm going to select my claimants dataset, which is your insurance dataset, which is your insurance dataset. I'm going to open my dataset called as claimants. You can see what is there in your dataset, and this is your dataset. So this is your case number, and this is your attorney. What do you mean by attorney? What do you mean by attorney? What do you mean by attorney? Lawyer.
Lawyer has verified or
Attorney
not?
is nothing but, yes, it is nothing but your attorney is nothing but your advocate or lawyer. So this is your claimant sex, whether it is male or female, and this is your claimant insurance, whether a person who is claiming for insurance, whether it is insured or not. If it is 1, it is insured. If it is 0, it is not insured. Seat belt. The person who is met with an accident and who is claiming for insurance, at the time of accident, was he wearing seat belt or not? Claimant age. So the person who is claiming for insurance is age 50, 18, 5, 31, 30, and this is the loss of that particular accident. This is the loss of that particular accident.
What is the loss? That number?
Loss in the sense, this number, it is 34.94k dollars. Damage, yes, it's a damage,
Okay, okay.
accident loss, and this is the case number for each and every insurance case. So now the output column is called as your attorney. If a person wants to claim an insurance, whether that person has hired a lawyer or not. If it is 1, the person has hired a lawyer. If it is 0, this particular person has not hired a lawyer for claiming his insurance. For claiming his insurance. Is the data set clear for you all?
Yeah.
Yes, so your output column is your attorney. Attorney means whether a
Yeah.
particular person who is claiming for insurance, whether did he hire an attorney or a lawyer or not. If it is 0, he has not hired a lawyer. If it is 1, he has hired a lawyer to run this particular insurance case. To run this particular insurance case. Now, so your case number doesn't make any sense, because by seeing your case number, you cannot tell whether this person is going to hire an attorney or not. It is just an identification number. So you need not have to worry about that case number. So here, line number 3, I'm going to attach a claimant's data set. I'm going to attach claimant's data set. So here, so what does this line number 4 gives you? Summary of claimants. What does it give you? Come on.
Mean, mode,
Yes,
and
it
the
will
max.
give you mean, median, mode,
Yeah.
or you can call
Mean.
it as summary
Median.
statistics. Summary statistics will be displayed for all the columns of your claimants data set. Claimants data set. So I'm going to execute this. I'm going to execute this.
Data set.
And you can see this. I'm going to implement logistic regression directly. See, apart from this, you have to do all those things like your first moment, second moment, third, fourth moment, each and everything. You have to do all those things again and again. I'm not going to run all those mean, median, mode, standard deviation, variance for each and every algorithm. You should do that as mandatory for every algorithm. Keep that in your mind. Keep that in your mind. Now I'm going to I'm going to implement logistic regression. Here I'm going to implement a logistic regression by using a function called as GLM. What does GLM stands for?
General
Generalized
logistic regression.
generalized
Linear
linear
model.
model. Yes,
Linear
generalized
model.
linear. Yes.
Generalized
So
linear.
yes. So my output variable is nothing but my attorney column, and my input columns are nothing but my claimant sex, claimant insurance, seat belt, and claimant age plus loss. Remaining all the columns are nothing but my input variables x1, x2, x3, x4, and x5. So what is your multiple logistic regression equation? It is nothing but y is equal to beta naught plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2 plus beta 3 x3 plus beta 4 x4 plus beta 5 x5 until beta n xn. Right? So as of now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inputs. So I can stop at beta 1 x1, x2, x3, x4, and x5. I can stop at beta 5 x5. I can stop. So I'm going to build a logistic regression. Here I'm specifying GLM, and this is your y tilde x1 plus x2 plus x3 plus x4 like this. And also here I'm specifying my dataset name called as claimants dataset. Data is equal to claimants. You can see that is my dataset name, and here you can see family is equal to binomial. Why I'm using family is equal to binomial? Any idea?
Because it's true. The value is
Which value? Which value? That is my question.
the input values are yes or no is
Not input value, your output value, because you're predicting whether you're going to hire an
yeah,
attorney or not. Either 0 or 1, right? So you're having only
yeah,
two categories. That is the reason you should use family is equal to binomial. If you're having more than two categories, you should use family is equal to multinomial. Multinomial. So this is your dataset name. These are nothing but your input variables. I'm going to build a model called as fit1. Fit1. Let me run this line and store my output in
uh,
a variable called as fit1. Yes.
Yogesh, sorry, before running this model, we no
Mhm.
need to check any correlations or anything like that. What we do for the
That is
previously.
mandatory for everything. That is mandatory for everything. That is the reason I told you for each and every algorithm, I'm not going to show that.
Oh,
First
okay, okay.
moment, second moment, third moment, fourth moment, histogram, bar plot, everything you have to do for every algorithms.
No, not for the summary. I'm thinking asking the plotting actually.
Yeah, you need to
What do we
plot
do?
between
Correlation
claimant
plotting.
age and yes, between claimant age and claimant loss, between claimant
Yeah.
loss and your claimant attorney column, you need to plot.
So the what are the steps previous for the example we follow for the multiple regression or the
Yes,
if you follow the
linear
same
regression, you
sequence?
should follow the same
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
for this. Now I'm going to run this line of code fit1, and your model has been built. Your model has been built. You can see the model that has been built here is fit1. You want to see the output of your logistic regression by using a function called as summary of fit1. So if I am executing this line of code summary of fit1, you're able to get your output of your logistic regression. So logistic regression. So coming to your logistic regression, here your formula starts this point. You build this, and you can see here it is your coefficients. Coefficients are nothing but your beta naught, beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, beta 4, and beta 5. And these are your values. As I told you that in your logistic regression, these are not your original values. What are these values?
Log value.
These are your log values. These are your log values, and also you can see that
Log
whether
values.
whether these variables are significant or not. See, is your intercept significant? No.
No.
Seat significant?
No.
No. Claimant age is slightly okay. You can
Yeah.
Take that is also
0.05.
0.05097. So you can just include that if you want. So, but your seat belt and your intercept is not okay. So if it is not significant, what are you going to do? If it is not significant, what is your
Find the influential records.
find the influential records? So by using which function?
Influence.
Influence dot measures influence index plot. You can identify whether this particular, which out of 1340 observations, which particular record is having influential on your data, influence on your data. So you should do that. So if suppose if you're not able to do that, then you cannot go for VIF here. You cannot go for VIF because it is your categorical data. Categorical data. So you need to go with respect to influence index plot. Influence index plot. So now you need to do, either you can go for transformation. Instead of using your claimant age and loss, you can go for transformation of these two variables. Instead of going directly claimant age, you can see by applying claimant of log of claimant age whether you are able to convert that into significant variable or not. So that is also possible. So apart from this, apart from these values, so you came to know that seat belt and your beta naught is not significant. You can identify your influential records by using
Influence function.
influence
plot.
influence plot, influence index plot. So when, how do you measure the performance of linear regression?
By R value, finding the R square value.
R square.
R square value. But when it comes to your logistic regression, there is nothing called as logistic regression here. There's nothing called as R squared value there. There is something called as null deviance and residual deviance. So what is this null deviance and residual deviance is? So this null deviance is only calculated based on your beta naught. Only it is calculated based on your beta naught value. It will not include any of your
Beta 1, beta 2.
inputs. Any of your inputs.
Like I didn't get you. Like if y that is null deviance is be just beta naught without any beta 1, beta like that, right?
Nothing. There is no other input parameters which are going to be used. So I'll just give an example for that. Try to understand. So consider this is your beta naught. So this is your beta naught means this is your college admission. For example, consider this as your college admission. And this is your x1, this is your x2, this is your x3. So x1, x2, x3. So x1 is your number of hours you study, number of internals you have attended, and scores of internals, number of internals and scores of internals. And this is your attendance. This is your attendance. Okay, this beta naught is just a college admission. So I want to predict whether a student is going to pass or fail. Pass or fail. So as I told you that null deviance is calculated just on your beta naught. So beta naught is, I have given it as college admission. So just by admitting into college admission, will a student pass? Or can we analyze?
No.
No. So your error will be very high when it comes to your only beta naught, because you're not including any input parameters. So your errors will be very high. Your errors will be very high. So with respect to null deviance, it is only calculated based on beta naught. Beta naught. Suppose along with this beta naught, your x1, number of hours you study, 3 hours you study, plus scores in your internal marks. You have scored approximately around 20 out of 25. For example, I'm taking it as 20. This is your x1, this is your x2, plus plus your attendance. Your attendance is approximately around
70%.
80%, whatever it is. So this is your x3. So if you calculate only y is equal to beta naught, y is equal to beta naught in the sense beta naught is only college admission. So how much percentage or how much result can a student expect out of 100% maximum score? How much a student can expect is just done the college admission. He has not studied anything. He has not. I'm not including any of your variables. I'm just using only college admission data. How much percentage a student can expect if he is only beta naught?
0%.
0%.
Very less.
Or 1% or 10%. 10% means the error is very high, right? The error is very, very high. Suppose here the error is 90%. Out of maximum 100%, a students can only 10% exam score he can expect. But remaining is 90% is your error. 90% is your error. Now I include this x1, x2 and x3. This part is your 90% error is right. That has been calculated based on your y is equal to beta naught. That is your null deviance. Null deviance. Now coming to your residual deviance. Residual deviance is calculated based on beta naught with other input variables also. With other input variables also, like this. Now, as I told you that x1 is beta naught is college admission plus beta x1 is here what? Number of hours you study. And this is your internal marks. And this is your attendance. So now beta naught is college admission is done. Yes, 1 plus beta 1 x1 number of hours you study is 3 hours you study. You'll get some beta 1 value plus beta 2 internal marks you got it as 20 plus beta 3 into x3 attendance is 75%. So how much percentage you can expect? Being a student, along with your college admission, you're also doing your number of hours of study, internal marks and attendance. How much percentage you can expect? How much percentage you can
50%.
expect? 50%. Okay.
More than
So
30%. That is
okay,
pass.
let me at least pass. So out of 100%, you can expect around 50% chance that this student is going to score 50% or 45% or 60% in exam. What is the error? Out of maximum 100%, he is scoring 50%. So 100%, this is your actual value you can score up to, but your predicted value is 50%. What is the error?
50.
50%.
50.
Error is 50%. Is your error reduced? Is your error reduced from 90% to
Yeah.
50%?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
This indicates that the input variables that is your number of hours of study or internal marks and your external or your attendance that is being used in your analysis is decreasing your error. Is this a good sign? Is this a good sign? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So it indicates that the input variables whatever you are using are correct. It indicates that your input variables whatever you are using is correct. Means this indicates that your residual deviance should be always lesser than your null deviance.
Non-deviant.
If your residual deviance is less than null deviance, this indicates that
Input variable.
whatever the input variables you are using are correct variables in order to predict your output. If suppose your residual deviance is greater than null deviance, you're getting my point? If your residual deviance is here, if your residual deviance
Yeah.
is less than null deviance, this indicates whatever the input variables we are using are correct. Suppose if your residual deviance. If your residual deviance is greater than null deviance, this indicates that the input variables you are using are not correct to predict your output.
Output.
Are not correct to predict your output. For example, like this, your college admission is your beta naught is college admission, and your beta 1 will be something, and x1 will be your how many movies did you watch. How many movies did you watch? Your x2 will be how many
Days you can.
days, no, how many
How many classes you
days,
bunked?
yes, how many days you bunked. Or third one more variable, how many internals did you bunk. How many internals did you bunk? So if you are having this type of input variables, will this make a significant variable to predict your result?
No.
No, right? So in this
No.
case, your residual deviance will be greater than your null deviance. Even though you are having your input variables, those are not correct variables to predict your output. So this indicates your null deviance and residual deviance explanation part. So this residual deviance indicates that null deviance should be always greater than
Less.
null deviance.
Should be greater than residual deviance.
Here, null deviance should be always greater than residual deviance. So if suppose null deviance is less than residual deviance, this indicates that the input variables you are using are not correct. Are not clear for everyone?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Now, in this case, your residual deviance is 1287 and 1516. What does this indicate?
Input variables are correct.
They are correct. Null deviance is greater than residual deviance.
Null deviance is greater than residual deviance. What does this indicate?
The inputs are correct.
Input variables are correct. Whatever the input variables you are using, those are correct variables. Correct variables. So this is your 244 observations deleted due to missingness. Deleted due to missingness. If you open your dataset called as claimants, you can see there is
1,240.
some values with NA. There are some values with, you can see here, NA is there.
So the total is 244 NA.
Yes, if there is only one NA in any column, that entire row will be not included in your analysis. Will not be included in your analysis.
Is NA only or any other letters?
NA. Missing values are identified as NA in your R Studio or R program.
If there is a call space or blank,
That is blank is considered as NA, right?
or
Blank
still
means
they
what?
consider.
Yes, it is blank.
Yogesh, generally this will be filled during the data preparation, right, before the analysis.
Yes. Yeah, we'll be doing that. I'll be taking a separate session on EDA, how to handle your missing values, how to handle your outliers. I'm going to take a separate session for that.
Okay.
Now, coming to this next line. So here I built a model. I want to see what is the probability of hiring an attorney or not. See here, predict is a function, and I'm using my model name called as fit1, and you can tell that you are going to predict your output. The output type is nothing but your response variable. Response variable. You can go here and you can see with respect to your help section, you can see here a response function. Or else you can go for type in your this thing, or go for directly predict function. Predict function, you can see or documentation model prediction. Predict is a generic function for the prediction from the results of various model fitting functions. You can see here that object is nothing but your model name. Additional arguments also you can pass it. Additional arguments also you can pass, like what is the test data set, you can pass each and everything you can pass. So this is your predict function. You want to predict your output. That is the reason I'm going to give it as response variable. So this is your syntax for predicting. So I'm going to store it in a variable called as prob1. Prob1, I'm going to run this line of code. So now if you want to see the output of your logistic regression with respect to prediction values, you can just type it as prob1. So this is your probability. This is your what I'll do is, instead of having in this way, I'll just type what type of data it is. I'll just type what type of data it is, and then I'm going to convert this into data frame. So this is your numeric data. I'm just converting this prob1 into a data frame by using a function called as dot data dot frame. So if I run it in this way, it is going to convert that into prob1. Will be stored in a variable called as, let me put it in the same variable, prob1 only. I'm going to replace. I'm going to execute this. See, now you can see that first one, second one, third one, fourth one, like this. So it is the probability. It is the probability of this particular records. For each and every record, it has been predicted the probability of hiring an attorney or not. Attorney or not. You're getting my point? Lahari, Megha,
Yeah.
Imran, Sanjay, Ratnesh,
Yeah.
Rakesh, Manju, Bharat, Devanshu.
Here, but the values are very less, right? Then how can we?
I'll come to that point still. Wait. Which values? You are talking about your probability values?
Yeah, the predicted values. Yeah, probability values.
These are not your, yeah, this is your probability values. What do you mean by that? 5.0167992E01.
To the power of minus.
It will be 0.0.
0.0000.
Hello, it is only 0.1. Why
Only
you want
1
to?
0.
Oh, okay.
It will be like this, right?
Yeah.
Or it will be, okay, this is with respect to minus 0.1. It will be 0.50. It will be 0.576. It will be 0.45. It will be 0.64, like this. So you should see here, first one is only having minus 0.06, and remaining everything is 0.01, 0.04, like this, 0.057, like this. So I'm going to explain you that next. So here, okay, before that, let me explain you this part. So as I told you that your beta naught, beta 1 naught, those are not your original values. Those are your log values. Those are your log values. Sorry, this one I need to run. So these are nothing but your log values. So I want to get original values by taking exponential of this coefficients. Exponential of these coefficients. In order to do that, there is a function called as exp. Exp. So this is nothing but your model name. What is the model name? What is the model name?
Fit.
This is
VRO
fit
V1.
one, right? No, fit
Okay.
one.
Sorry. Okay.
This is your fit one. Model name is here. It is fit one. So coefficients of fit one, I'm going to take your original values by using a function called as exp. exp. See, if I just run this, whatever is there here, minus 0.19, 0.43, 0.64, 0.78, everything is been displayed because I've removed your exp there. I removed your exp. Now, if I add my exp function over here, I'm going to get exponential of this coefficient value. So I'm going to run once again. See, earlier it was minus 0.19. Now it is 0.1881. So this is your beta naught. This is beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, beta 4, and beta 5. These are your original beta naught, beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, beta 4, beta 5 values. Got it? Yesterday I told you these are nothing but your log values. In order to get your original values, you need to use a function called as exp. Exponential of your log values will give you the original values. That is nothing but your beta naught, beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, beta 4, and beta 5. Now, as we have already predicted your probability, and your probability table I have already created here, and if you want to add this into your original data set along with your claimants data set, you can do that also. I'm going to show you that. So what I'll do is here I'm going to create one data set called as result. Okay, I'm going to use a function called as cbind. Cbind is used to do column bind of probability column. Probability is nothing but my prob1 comma your original values. But in your original values, I'll not be able to mix it. So because it is having different size, because in your claimants data set we are having only 1340 observations. Because of missing value, your 1096 observations have been only generated. So that is the reason implied differing number of rows, you're not able to merge it. So what I have to do is I cannot do your column bind here. So instead of doing this, I'm directly going to do this particular step here, over here. Here I'm going to pass it as same thing, but I'm going to pass it as fit1. Fit1 is my algorithm name, and same I'm going to pass my data set called as claimants data set. I'm going to build one more variable called as prob. So here I'm going to do this once again, and now you can see that 1340 observations is being added with respect to your claimants data set. See here, this is your original data set from here till end, but this is the probability column I have added here. So wherever there is NA value, see, if there is one NA in your data, probability will be NA.
But we understood that they deleted the NA value, no, from the data
We
set.
did not delete.
No, when you run the function, it is.
When I run the algorithm, it shows that 244 observations deleted due to missingness when you ran the model, but we did not do as a part of our analysis.
But now when you're passing to this function, you're passing the same model only, fit1 model you're passing.
Yes.
But in the
Yes.
inside the fit1 model, the program already deleted the 244 observations.
Program has already deleted, but if it is deleted in the sense, for each and every algorithm, I'm passing this claimants data set, right? Wherever there is deleted, it will display as NA. It is not available, right?
Yeah, okay.
It is going to merge that original data set. Wherever there is NA, it is going to add that. That's the reason I'm showing you this part. So now you can see that here, I want to check the accuracy of your logistic regression model by using a function called as, or not a function, you can call it as the accuracy of your logistic regression model is been done using confusion matrix. Confusion matrix. So confusion matrix will look like this: 0, 1, 0, 1. I'll explain you when I try to build this now. So if
What
I
is the
run this
type
line of
C actually? Sorry,
this one,
sorry for disturbing. What is the type C and giving a response? What is the type C
this is
actually?
nothing but your output variable. You want to predict your output, right? Output variable is also called as target variable, and also it is called as your response variable. It is also called as dependent variable. Dependent variable, you need to specify this or else. See here, I'm going to it will do the same thing. In your older version of R, we need to write specifically what you want to predict. But in the latest version of R, you do not have to worry about that. So if you want to write it, you can write it in your latest version, because most of them might have installed your R Studio now, right? So for you, it will work.
Yeah.
But for my system, until and unless I update my packages, it was not working. I used to write a separate type is equal to C of response, means your type is nothing but my output variable I need to predict. So if you are using your older version of R, like if you have installed 1 year back or 2 years back, you should specifically write it as type is equal to C response. If you have installed after 2018, you are directly working with respect to your fit1 and your claimants data set. Now, so what does this line of code does? This line, I'll come to this point after explaining this. What does this line of code does?
Uh, um, to
What it will display? Come on, if I run this, total what? I'll open the data set now.
um,
Just tell me, this is your data set. Attorney column, this is your data set. I'm going to write it as table of attorney. What it will display?
summation of the values that is present in the column attorney.
No, not summation. I'll tell you what it is. So if you
I
run
mean the
this
total
table,
value.
okay, I'll explain you. Yes, Muralidhar, it's correct. So table of attorney will give you how many zeros and how many ones are there in your dataset attorney column. In your dataset claimants, attorney column is having 0 and 1, right? Out of 1340
Yeah.
observations, how many zeros are there? How many ones are there? It is going to display that. It is going to display that. Let me run this line of code. See, out of 1340 observations, 685 observations we are having 0, 655 observations we are having 1. We are having 1. Clear now what it is?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Now,
I think we use the same function in the hypothesis testing.
yes, I have shown
So
you
in
while doing
yeah,
see dim of,
yeah,
so dim of attorney, you're talking about dim of attorney.
table of
No, one sec. Dim of attorney. So dim of attorney is dim is used for seeing the dimension of your data set, Muralidhar. It is not for your columns. It is not your zeros and columns are zeros and ones are not your rows and columns. See your data here once. In your attorney column, you're having 0 and 1. How many zeros are there? How many ones are there? But when it comes to your DIM, this is your dimension, number of rows and columns. Don't get confused. Don't get confused. Yes, it will give you the count of individual values or individual categories. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use prob1 $attorney, and my first column name is prob. Now, see here. Now, what does this line of code does? If I run here, I'm going to run it separately. Table of prob 1 dollar prob greater than 0.5. What it will display? It will display false and true. So what is this false and true is? What is this false and true? Any idea how to read this false and true? If any values which are greater than 0.5 means 50% greater than 50% probability, that will be true. And if anything which is less than 50% probability, that will be displayed as false. So out of your total 1340 observations, we predicted, right? Out of 1340 observations, we came to know that some 249 observations were deleted, and remaining, out of remaining, you can see that 591 plus 505. 591 plus 505 is how much? 6, 9, 1090. Totally 1096 observations are there, and out of this 1096 observations, 505 are less than 50% probability. That is nothing but 50%, right? 0.5. So if in 591 cases it is true, it indicates that in 591 cases it is greater than 50% probability. That is nothing but 0.5. 0.5. So what is this you are doing here? I've run this separately here. And what about this? What about this? Tell me, if I run together,
Table of
come on, tell me, try. Give a try. Nothing is wrong. For attorney, probably not only for attorney, it will display for both. It will display for both. Both in the sense, let me run this and explain you. Let me run this and explain you. I've run this line. I've run this. So, okay. Before that, I'm going to run separately this table function for your this part. For this part, I'm going to run separately and explain you. Prob $1 attorney.
okay.
In your attorney column is what? Attorney column is nothing but your output variable in your data set, right? This column. Under this column, we are having 685 and 655, right? Zeros and ones.
Yeah.
Okay. This is your false means 0, true means 1. This is your predicted value. This is your predicted value with respect to greater than 50%, less than 50%. This is 1, this is 0. So I'm combining these two. I'm combining these two in a variable called as confusion matrix. So your confusion matrix will look like this. As I told you, 0, 1, and here it will be 0, 1. So I'm going to run this confusion and try to explain what does that confusion says. I'm just given a name called as confusion. So this is nothing but your x-axis is nothing but x comma y, table of x comma y. So this is nothing but your what? Predicted values. False and true, right? False and true is nothing but your predicted values, because in your attorney column you are having 0 and 1. So this is your actual value in your data set. This is your actual data and this is your predicted data. Got it? Lahari, Megha, Devanshu, Bharat, Sanjay, Ranjini.
Now, could you just repeat again?
This one.
Things to process.
Okay, fine. So in your total data set, we are having how many records? 1340. Out of 1340, we have predicted around 1096, and the remaining is deleted due to missingness, right? Due to missingness. So this out of this 1096 observations, in your attorney column, whatever you are having, whether 0 or 1, this is your actual data. This is your actual data. And you're predicted as false and greater than 50% probability, less than 50% probability. Getting my point now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Now this false means it is 0. True means it is 1. True
1.
means it is 1. So how to read this data is, this is your actual data, right? As I told you, this is your actuals. So in your original data set, in 380 data sets plus 198 data sets, it is 380 plus 198 data set, it is 0. In your attorney column, totally 8, 7, 5. In your 578 records, it is 0. This is your actual data. Read this first. Only take up these values. This is your 0 and 1 in your actual data. 380 plus 198, it is 480, 580, 578 records you are having. 0 in your actual data set. And this is your 125 plus 393. This is having 1 in your actual data. 393, 493 plus 125, it will be 518. So in your actual data, in 518 cases you are having 1, and 578 cases you are having 0. After remaining that NA variables, after removing that missing values. Clear until this point? Yes or no? Sorry, Vikas.
Joseph, just
Yes.
now you mentioned that false are the 0 with the 380.
1 second, please wait. I'm explaining this part. First, understand this. From where did you get this 380, 125, 198, and 393? I'm going to tell you. So this is 380, this is 125, this is 198, this is 393. This is your actual data I'm writing here. Actual data I'm writing here. Actual data. In your out of 1096 observations, in your actual data, you're having 0 how many cases? 578. Add this. 8 plus 8 plus 9 is 7, 5, 7, and 3 plus 2 is 5. So here it is 518. 518. So clear? If you add these together, how much it will be? 578, 500 per 500, it will be 1078 plus 18, it is 1096. So this is your actual data set. Is it clear? Actual data set from your attorney column. From your attorney column. Is it clear, Satish, now?
Yeah.
Yes. Now coming to this part. I'm going to write false, true along with your actual data. In your actual data, it is 380, 0 and 1, 198 and 125 and 393. So this is your actual data, and this is your predicted data. In your predicted data, it says that in your actual data, there are totally 578 zeros. 578 zeros. But what did you predict? 0 and 0. You are correctly predicted in only 380 cases. You are correctly predicted in only 380 cases. In remaining 198 cases, in your actual data, it is 198 is 0. But you have predicted it as
Yeah.
1. Means this is your wrong prediction. This is your wrong prediction. This is right prediction. 0, 0, 1, 0. Clear until this point? Yes, Bharat, Manju, Rakesh, Ratnesh. Okay. Now coming to this part. So here you can see that actual data. Can you explain me this 125 and 393? Can somebody explain me this?
125 is wrongly predicted data, and 393 is correctly predicted data.
Yes, you can see this one and this one. It is 393. It is correctly predicted in this way. 393 are correctly predicted, and you should predict in 125 cases, you should predict it as 1, but you have predicted it as 0.
Wrong.
In this case, here this diagonal becomes correct prediction, and this opposite 125 and 198 becomes wrong prediction. Wrong prediction. Clear? So wherever it is 0 and 1. False is 0 and 1. So instead of predicting it as 0, instead of predicting it as 1, you have predicted it as 0. Instead of predicting it as 1, you have correctly predicted as 1 here, and you have predicted here as 0, you have predicted it as 1. So this diagonal will be correct prediction, and this diagonal will be wrong prediction. So how to calculate the accuracy of this model manually?
Accuracy.
How much is the accuracy of this model? Try to do it. Use your mobile calculator or whichever calculator, use it and tell me what is the accuracy of this model. Anyone? It is nothing but you should take diagonal correct values, right? 380 plus 393 is correctly predicted, and remaining is this total of all these things. 380 plus 393 plus 125 plus 198. How much it is? 380, 387, 73
73.
divided by 1096. I think it's wrong, Mega. I am not calculated, but I remember when I ran it for the last time. Just give it a try once again, Mega. 773 divided by 1096. How much it is?
1000.
70.
70%.
Yes, it is your 70 point something. 70 point something. That is the accuracy of your model. So this type of model which is confusing, this is the name I am given it as confusion. This is called as your confusion matrix. This is called as confusion matrix. So I am going to write the calculation of how to check the accuracy of the model. Accuracy of the model. See here what I'm taking. Here I'm taking diagonal of confusion. Diagonal of confusion will be taken as 380 plus 393. See. This is your diagonal. And I'm taking divided by sum of your confusion matrix. Sum of your confusion matrix. Just run this part. Just run this. So this is your sum. So instead of writing it separately, I've written in the same line. It is sum of diagonal of confusion matrix divided by sum of confusion matrix, and store it in a variable called as accuracy, and the accuracy is 70.5292. 70.5292. Clear?
Yogesh,
Yes.
regarding the false and true, this always will be in the same position. Sometimes it may be swapped.
Always either you'll be getting 1 1 0 0 like this, or you'll be getting it as 0 0 1 1 like this. It will be 1 1 like this, or it will be 0 0 like this. 99% you are going to get like same position. See, it is simple understanding. You should see false means 0 0 1, true means 1, and it is 1. You should understand this. That's it. There is no rocket science behind this. You should understand. If it is no, 0. If it is yes,
1.
1. That's it. 1 1 0 0. This is correct. This is wrong. Like this. Now, there is something called as ROC curve. One way to calculate. Yeah. Tell me.
Yogesh, I have a doubt. So accuracy means like what it indicates, 70% that what we have predicted is correct, or
If your model accuracy rate is 70%, means whatever the model you have built, that is going to work correctly for 70% of the time. It is going to predict correctly.
okay.
So this is one way to check the accuracy of your model. How do you check the performance of your logistic regression? If they ask you, you should tell that it is based on your confusion matrix. You can tell it as confusion matrix. And another one is there that is called as your ROC curve. So take down one assignment question. Take down one assignment simple question. Tomorrow you should tell me when I start the class itself. If I don't remember, please make me remember that question. What is ROC? What is ROC curve? You should explain me. Today I'm going to explain you the theory part. You should tell me practically how it works in your real time. I'm not going to tell you fully. I'm going to tell you 70% now with respect to this. For this, you need to run a package or a library called as ROCR. ROCR. You need to install that package. Now, there is something called as ROCR pred. I'm just creating a variable. It can be X or Y, whatever you want, you can give. And I'm going to use a function called as prediction. I'm going to use a prediction and I'm going to use a column called as prop. I'm going to use a column called as prop from my prop1 $. Prop1 $. I'm going to use a function called as, column called as prop, and this is nothing but my, instead of using Clemens $attorney, I'm going to use prop1 $attorney because this is having same data. This is having same data set attorney and your prop. So I'm going to use the same data set and I'm going to run this line of code and store the variable in the output called as ROCR pred. ROCR pred. I've run this. And if you want to see what is there in your ROCR pred, you can just use this. It will display all these things. You'll not understand what it is. It is nothing but it is displaying your negative prediction and your positive predictions. That's it for all the variables. It will display your true, false, right, false positive, false negative, true positive, true negative, all those things. You need not have to worry about all those things. It is just do a research on this is your predictions, an object of class predictions. It is going to have predictions for each and every column, whatever we have done with respect to PROB first. So now below this you're going to get, after all the 1096, it will go for next cutoff. What is the cutoff value we have specified? It is not your cutoff value, it will be your probability cutoff values. And next it is going to display your FP. FP stands for false positive. If it is false positive, tomorrow I'm going to explain you that part. And what is this? Each and everything I'm going to explain. See, this is nothing but your records. Zeroth record, like this. It is going to display whether what is your false positive. There is a formula like D divided by B plus D. I'm going to explain what is this D divided by B plus D in coming session. And the next it is going to display your false positive here, and next is coming down here, and here it will display true positive. It will display your true positive. I'll tell you, Manju, 1 second. Your confusion matrix will give you the performance of your logistic regression. Performance of your logistic regression. 0 and 1, you got it like this. Here also it was 0 and 1. You calculated this diagonal is your correct prediction. This is your wrong prediction. This is your wrong prediction. So you came to know that it is 773 divided by 1096 records. It is nothing but the accuracy of your logistic regression model is 70%. So that confusion matrix gave you the accuracy of the logistic regression model, Manju. Got it, Manju? Now this is called as your true positive, and next it is going to give you false negative and also true negative. True negative is here, and it will display each and everything. For it is nothing but your opposite, it is taking from your true negative records. Which record is true negative? All these things. And you do not have to worry about this. I'm going to explain you in a simpler way in tomorrow's session. And next is your false negative. So you need not have to worry about this TP, FP, FN, TN and all. Just explain me about your ROC curve. Just do some research on ROC curve, how it looks. So I'm going to performance of this ROCR rate. I'm going to pass here, and TPR is nothing but my true positive rate, and FPR is nothing but my false positive rate. Just pass those two values and going to build with respect to my ROCR performance. So if you just run this ROCR performance, it is again going to give you some values like this. You need not have to worry about all these things. Forget about all these things. I'm going to explain you one. See, if it is these two lines, if you don't get it, if you don't remember it, just try to Google it. You're going to get. So this line, I'm going to plot this line. See the plot. How does your plot looks? So do some research. So you're not getting a plot here. I need to use a Windows function here. So you'll be getting a plot like this. You'll be getting a plot like this, or like this, or like this, or it can be like this also, or it can be like this also. Now tell me which plot is good. If you get a plot like this, is it a good curve? So that is the reason. Try to do some research on ROC, and you should answer me that exact question. What is ROC? Not the full form of ROC. Not the full form of ROC. I am asking you to explain the theory behind ROC. I'm going to use a function called as Windows to plot my ROC curve. See, you're getting a curve like this. You're getting a curve like this. And you should tell me what is this area called as. This area is there, right? What is this area called as? Area called as. In tomorrow's session, you should explain me what is this curve. True positive rate and false positive rate is there. So what does this curve indicates? What does this particular curve indicates? Getting my point? Tomorrow's session, you should tell me what is your ROC and what is this area called as. Any idea? Anyone has idea about this? Muralidhar? Muralidhar, do you have any idea about what is this called as? No. Just try to do some research tomorrow. In tomorrow's session, and this is another way to check the accuracy of your logistic regression model. So if you tell logistic regression model, they might ask you about your confusion matrix, or they might ask you about your ROC curve. And also they will ask you a question, what is this area called as? So you should tell me tomorrow what is that area called as. Try, give a try. If you spend 10 minutes to maximum of 15 minutes, you will understand what is this curve and what is this ROC. Everything is being explained in that 10 to 15 minutes. Try to spend some time on YouTube or some blogs. So once you explain this tomorrow, tomorrow I'm going to start a new topic called as once after one more algorithm. Both the algorithms I'm going to take in Python at the same time. Tomorrow I'm going to complete theory part of your segmentation. And that segmentation is also called as clustering. So tomorrow we'll try to complete the segmentation or clustering theory part, and after that we are going to implement R clustering, then Python logistic regression, then Python clustering. In clustering we have two algorithms. One is hierarchical clustering and another one is non-hierarchical clustering. We'll see both of the implementation part with respect to R and Python along with logistic regression once we implement it. Clear for everyone? But don't miss this assignment with a very important question. That is the reason I'm going to give you an assignment, because if you spend some time doing research, then only you'll be able to understand what it is. Clear for everyone?
Yeah.
And I'm going to share you this data set. Or suppose if you want to get multiple logistic regression code in my this thing, just go to this page, rpubs.com/yogesh84. Go to this page and you'll be able to see logistic regression data as well.
Even the Python also last time we didn't receive actually.
Python I've sent you today.
No, today
Just
we
check
got
it out.
only the recording only, but I didn't receive the program.
Okay, I'll just check it out once again. After this I'll send you. After the session I'm sending. See, logistic regression I might have posted somewhere. See here, this is your logistic regression. If you want a code for your R logistic regression, go to this rpubs.com/yogesh84 and you can see. See, I've written everything. I've written everything. I've written everything. Okay.
Excuse me, Yogesh, we are getting that error from that rpubs.
You're getting
We're
error.
getting,
You're
yeah,
using
HTTP.
Office system. You're using Office
I think-
system.
No, home.
Personal system. You should not get.
We're getting a HTTP 404 not found error.
No chance. See, I'm also using rpubs.com, right? So others, please try.
We need to register in rpubs or something like that.
Obviously, you should register, right? You don't have registered it. You're not yet registered yet.
Not yet. Only then we're able to access, I believe.
No, it
I'll
is not
just-
like that. It is not like that. See, if you're not registered, also it should work. See, I have clicked the link. Just try it out.
Yeah, now in the link I'm getting it. Yeah, I'm able to use it through link.
Okay, fine. So like this, you can go to multiple logistic regression and just click on that particular this thing. You'll be able to see the code. You'll be able to see the code. Okay. So I'll be sending this data set. I'll be sending this data set along with your multiple linear regression. Let me just give me 1 sec. I've shared this today only. Yes, that only I've shared. Multiple linear regression cars, R code and cars.cs we have shared.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just resend it once again, Muralidhar and Satish. Okay, thank you all. Tomorrow again same time, 7:30.
Yeah.
Tomorrow there's a new topic called as segmentation or clustering. Please don't be late. If you miss, you'll be under losing the session. Yeah, sure, Sanjay. I will do that. Thank you all. Good night.
Yogesh, yeah,
Yes.
even I haven't got the data set actually. for the previous one.
Oh, okay. Let me just share you once again, everyone.
No, I did receive them. Okay.
Sure. I'll just do it. 1 second. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
all.
thank you.
Good night.